Let's work on edits for my literary agent. Hello! So by the time you are seeing this, I have posted my official announcement sharing that I signed with a literary agent for my historical murder mystery nicknamed Project Dagger. And this is super exciting, but that also means it's now time to work on some more edits. I did 7 drafts of this book before I queried, and when I talked to my agent on the call, she said that she thinks one round of more substantial edits, and then, oh my god, why did the light just change in here? Did you see that? She thinks we need to do one round that's like actually, making changes to the book, editing scenes, deleting certain scenes, and then just like a quick line edit, and then she thinks we'll probably be in good shape. But she told me not to rush because obviously in November and December, a lot of people in the publishing industry are going to be taking time off for the holiday season. So I have a lot of time to work on this. We're not in a hurry to go on sub. I'm actually really excited about this because it has now been over a month since I reread my manuscript, so I think now I will have a renewed perspective since I have taken a little bit of time away from it. Honestly, everything that my agent suggested in terms of edits sounds fair to me. And I'm not saying that just because, like, I want to be agreeable or I want her to like me. Everything that she suggested when I read it, I was like, that makes sense to me. So now I just have to figure out how I'm going to implement all of these edits and work on getting it to the place we want it to be. So far, I have gone through and looked at all the comments that she left in track changes, accepting the different changes and making a list of different scenes that she had specific thoughts on. I also think one of the first things I'm going to do is look at the things that she wants me to delete. As I mentioned, Project Dagger is like a multi-POV novel. I do think there's one character who in my mind is like the main character, but you get perspectives from multiple characters in the book to sort of tease out their secrets and the mystery plotline. There are a few scenes that my agent thinks could be deleted because obviously, since we have multiple perspectives, there are certain times where she thinks a character's perspective isn't fully needed or it could be moved somewhere else to be more effective. So I'm going to look at those parts that she pointed out to me because obviously if I delete certain sections, there is more word count to play around with and add stuff. Granted, my literary agent didn't tell me anything about the word count, so it's okay if it does go up a little bit, but I think it would be really good to cut some things out so that we can add the things that she wants to add without making the book, like, very long. I hope that made sense. Obviously, when I'm discussing the things that I'm doing, I have to be kind of vague because I can't tell you the specific plot of the book or the changes that she's suggesting to me. Really, the thing that she thinks needs work is more so like the second half of the book. She really didn't have a lot of thoughts on the beginning. There were more so certain things in the second half that she felt like needed to be developed more, which is fair. I understand where she's coming from with all her notes. So I'm gonna get started on this. We'll see how long it takes. Again, we're not rushing. And I'm excited. So I'm going to look at the things that she wants me to delete and see how many words does that save us. Okay, so an end of the day update. Like I said, one of the first things that I did was look at these scenes that my agent suggested possibly deleting. So there were 3 parts that she thought could maybe go, and none of them were super long, maybe like 600-ish words, like 2 to 3 pages. And I think I agree with her that they can be deleted because obviously I put all those parts in for a reason, but I don't know if they're strictly speaking necessary to advance the plot. So I do think they can be deleted. There was one part that I was kind of sad to delete because I really liked it, and the reason I wrote it was to give some insight into the murder victim, who, like I may have referenced before, is like a very unlikable character. But in my mind, like I have a whole backstory for how he ended up that way that doesn't make it into the book. And I felt like it was really interesting to be in his head and see glimpses of why he is the bad person that he is. But the agent said that I should delete it. And I think I see why she said that, because it's really not necessary for the book, but I liked it personally. That's okay though. I think she's ultimately right. This is my notebook where I track my word counts. I queried this book at 89,409 words. And when I deleted those scenes that she suggested deleting, it goes down to 87,400. So that's 2,000 words that we saved there. There was also another scene that I edited down a little bit because she said that she thought it was too long. So I took a good hard look at it today and deleted parts that I thought could be deleted. So I removed those 3 scenes. I cut one scene down. That saved me 2,000 words. And now, when I have to add stuff, I have at least 2,000 words to play around with, which will be fun. The next thing that I'm going to do is work on a checklist of things that I want to edit and things that I need to remember to circle back to. I really like doing editing checklists for multiple reasons. One, it helps me remember all the things that I need to do so that I don't forget anything. And 2, I just find it very satisfying to have a checklist and be able to check things off. You know, it gives you that little sense of accomplishment. So I'm going to make a list. And another one of the things that my agent really wants me to think about is the timeline of the murder. When did this person die? And what was every character doing at that time? So I might make a little timeline just to make sure that that's all clear for the edits. So that's the plan. Talk to you again soon.
Are you my baby kitten? You're my baby kitten. Yes.
So I'm about ready to leave for the coffee shop to get some writing done. My friend is going to meet me there, and I'm just going to work there for a little bit. I also am going to set up a murder timeline with sticky notes. Luckily, I found these old purple sticky notes because originally I was going to use this pack of Season's Greetings sticky notes that I found, and let me tell you, these things, they don't stick at all. They had one job and they can't do it. I'm gonna set it up here on my door just because, I don't know, I thought this would be a fun exercise, but like, look at what I'm talking about here. You had one job, one job. Hello, so it's been a few days since we last talked about my editing progress. I have now filmed my official literary agent announcement. That's gonna go up tomorrow, and I'm like super excited and also weirdly nervous about it. I don't know why. But I got my checklist done, and I also planned out my murder timeline, because one of the things my agent wanted me to add was a more precise time of death for the murder victim. And she wants our main characters to, you know, ask all the other characters, okay, so where were you during this time? What is your alibi? So that's something that I'm now going to incorporate. Honestly, the first 7 chapters, I really think don't need that many changes other than some minor line edits. But once we get to chapter 8, that's when I need to start doing more editing. And I think pretty much every chapter from chapter 8 through the end will need something. Now, by that, I do not mean that every chapter from 8 to the end is going to need to be rewritten or even need that extensive editing. But I am introducing some new plot beats to the second half of the book, which may impact later chapters, right? Because for instance, if I introduce a time of death in chapter 8, maybe then in chapter 9, for instance, I'm gonna have to add in a line or two to reflect the addition of this time of death element. So there are a few chapters that do need new scenes or need to be reworked. And there are a lot of chapters that don't need to be reworked, but they might need an addition of a line or two to reflect the changes I made in earlier chapters, just to make sure that everything is consistent and I don't contradict myself. So really, I'm just gonna go through every chapter and see, okay, oh, this detail no longer makes sense because of what I edited earlier. Or, I think I should add in a line here to reflect, etc. My agent obviously has represented a lot of mysteries before, and so I think she thinks about little details that maybe, the average reader isn't consciously thinking about, but I do think are gonna make the book better. Like, for instance, one of the edits that she wants me to make is to have my main characters, as they're sleuthing, consistently bring up their theories. It's like, who do they think the murderer is at this point and why? Because that's going to help the reader remember all the clues and the important information that's going to come back around and just make those investigative beats stronger. And I think that was a really good point. So that's something that I have to implement. And obviously, I'm not going to need to rewrite every chapter, but I'm probably going to have to look at every chapter just to confirm, okay, does this still make sense? Do I contradict myself? Do I need to add something here to reflect the changes that I made? But for me personally, the hardest part of editing is always finding the motivation to start. Once I start, I feel like I can be productive and get through it. But just finding the initial inspiration to start working on the edits, that's the part that's hard for me. So now that I've started, hopefully things will go well. Again, I'm not rushing. My agent told me not to rush, but I think I've jumped over the first hurdle and I'm excited to see where things are gonna go from here.
Are you under the blankie, Buttercup? Is it too cold for you, sweetheart? Love you, sweetie.
Hello, it is time once again for Jackie to update her vlog from her car. I'm gonna go out to a coffee shop to write today. I think I might get a tea instead of a coffee. Maybe a London fog, that sounds good. My book's set in London, so kind of fitting. I got through a few chapters yesterday and I was putting it off a little bit because I was on one of the chapters where I needed to rewrite a scene. So I was procrastinating, but I did it yesterday and I'm actually happy with how it turned out. And I added some stuff that I think is really going to be good. So I'm feeling pretty positive about my writing. I have been having insomnia this week. Just out of nowhere, the last 3 nights, I've been up till 1 or 2 in the morning, unable to sleep. So I don't feel good about that. But writing? Okay. So let's go write in a different location and see what I get done. I turned the radio on the way here, and the radio station was playing the Glee version of Last Christmas. Who else was a Finchel shipper back in, the Clee heyday, because I was. That was my first ever OTP. I wrote so many fan fictions about them when I was 13. And when Cory Monteith died, I cried for like 3 days. Because I loved him. That was such a throwback. Who else was a Finchel girly back then? Hello, it's now 5 p.m. and I realize I didn't update you on what I got done today. So I got through 4.5 chapters at the coffee shop, which is pretty good. My word count is now 89,452. So we're now slightly over the word count that I queried with, but we'll see how it goes. There is one additional scene I need to add, and unless I'm forgetting something, after that I think it's mostly just going to be little changes here or there. So we'll see. I feel tentatively good about it, I definitely worked on some of the things that my agent asked me to add. And hopefully when it's all done, I'll be happy with it and she'll be happy with it. I don't know. I'm kind of like scared to inevitably send it back to her, which is so dumb because like she's very nice and she loves the book. So I don't know why I'm scared to send it to her. It's not like she's going to shoot me or anything, but like I just hope that she'll like it when she reads the edits and she'll be happy and feel like I did what she asked me to. So, but pretty productive day. Hello, so I'm currently at the beautiful airport hotel, but I just wanted to update you really quickly because I'm currently on my way to Canada for a trip, so I may not update this vlog until I get back. I don't really know how much writing I'm gonna do on my trip, if any. I did get through the middle of chapter 20 before I left, but I realized as I was editing chapter 20 that there was something I had to change because just given my agent's edits, it didn't fully make sense in its current form. So I'm gonna have to tweak that chapter a little bit, and I just didn't feel like doing it yesterday before I left. So will I work on writing during this trip? Maybe, maybe not. But at the very least, I'll update you again when I get back home. So see you then. Hello, I am now back home from my trip and I just sent my edited manuscript back to my agent. So the word count did go up a little bit. It's now 90,380. I definitely deleted at least like over 2,000 words of scenes based on my agent's recommendations for what could go. And then I added somewhere around like 5,000 new words based on her feedback, but it was very hard to keep track of everything I added and everything I deleted. Like obviously that the math doesn't check out there if you just do 2,000 and something and 5,000 and something, but sometimes I would just delete a word here or there, add a word here or there. So it was something in that range, not entirely sure. I said I wasn't sure how much work I was going to do when I was gone on my trip, but I did have some time when I was on the train that I used to work on my manuscript, and I finished it up. The only thing I'm not really sure of is there were a couple of scenes that I thought maybe I could cut down a little bit, but I wasn't sure about it, so I just told my agent to let me know what she thinks about it. I think it's easier for me to add words than to delete words because there are scenes that I really like or sections that I really like.
but I recognize, maybe this is going on for a bit too long. Maybe we don't, strictly speaking, need all of this, but it's hard for me to select what words to cut because I do think it's well written. I like it, even though I know maybe it doesn't all, strictly speaking, need to be there. Like, for instance, there was one scene that my agent told me to cut, and at first my reaction was, no, like, I can't cut that part's good. And it was good, it was well written, but when I looked at it, I recognized, you know, she's right. This doesn't need to be in the book. It can go. So I think, you know, it's a little hard for me to gauge what to delete, but if somebody gives me feedback, I think I can be more impartial about it and be like, okay, you're right. This part, it's good, but it doesn't need to be here. Let's take it out. So that's pretty much it. She'll let me know what she thinks. I did talk to my agent on the phone this morning, and I told her I was kind of a little nervous to send it back to her because I wanted her to like it, and she told me not to be nervous. But you know, the thing is, like, whenever you're sending your writing to someone, don't you get a little bit nervous because you're sending it over to them, it's out of your hands, and you know, you want them to love it. So I always get a little bit nervous about that, even though I know, like, I don't necessarily need to feel nervous. I just can't help it. My apologies also if I sound super congested. I think I caught a cold when I was on my trip to Canada, so I'm probably not looking or sounding my best, but look what else I got. My agent sent me this Team Lark cup. I love it so much. So that is it for this vlog about working through edits for my literary agent. I hope that you enjoyed this. Obviously, I can't go into specifics about the edits because spoilers, but I hope it was still fun to watch. Anyway, let me know in the comment section if you are a writer. Do you think adding to your word count or lowering your word count is harder for you? I would like to hear your thoughts. If you're still here watching and you don't know what to comment, but you want to show your support and let me know that you watched this whole thing, why don't you comment the thumbs up emoji down below so that I know you're still here. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it. It really does help me and my channel, and please subscribe if you want to see more from me. I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. Thank you so much for being here today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, and I'll see you next time.